Welcome back. Captain, please go ahead with your thoughts
But
on the how.
I was talking about my good friends, the millennials. Between the ages of 18 and 34, we have 102 million Nigerians or thereabout. What does that tell you? It tells you Nigeria has a youth bulge. So why should any force or any service shakara us with ineptitude and inefficiency that we can scrap? Let me tell you something. You don't need 5 million of those 102, and you still be left with 97 unemployed to form 6 armies and 6 police forces. Nigeria is mature enough for 6 armies.
Can you fund them?
Why not? If you can find $40 million in one apartment in Ikoyi, are you doubting that we can fund it? Probably the person had more than 40 million and just forgot 40 million. It's like when you forget money and your laundryman returns it. So if you can forget 40 million in some apartment, only God knows how much you had. That's profile analysis now. If I found 20 naira in your pocket as your laundryman, I know you are well more than 20 naira. That's why you could forget it. There are people that can't forget 20 naira. I'm telling you, there are still people in this country that cannot forget 20 naira. It's still much to them. So if you could leave 40 million there, some even put it in soakaways and graveyards.
So this brings to the question of having state police, for instance. Now, do you think that will help the security situation?
We can't have state police.
Why?
The reason is, you see, our governors haven't shown the political maturity to handle force if it's at their disposal. Check what happened in Ibadan yesterday. FM, what? Music yes. House. It's unfortunate. I was inspired when that man from his wheelchair rose to build that house. And a governor who has 2 legs actually had the effrontery to pull that house down. Let's leave that. Anyway, as I was saying, what you see today is opportunity, serious opportunity. If we decide to give each governor with the kind of temperament I've seen some governors have, a police, a state police, there'll be a problem. But why don't we do it one to a region? So there's a cluster of states that have 1 police force headed by 1 IG. So you'll be looking at 6 IGs and then somebody at the head to oversee all the IGs. Then the states cannot draw exclusively from that police because he's there to serve maybe 4, 5, 6 more states, isn't it? And then it becomes a situation where you narrow the AOR, area of responsibility, so that these men can focus. You see, policing is not like soldiering. Policing has to be personal. For policing to take serious effect and give you the results you need, it has to be personal. What is personal? It means the policeman and his subjects have to have a bond. And the closer that bond, the better. So who's better to be your policeman than your children? If I made you the policeman in your home, and he was the policeman in his home, then it's virtually impossible for boys from your home to come and rob in his home. No, go rob your parents. So it becomes a bit more personal. Okay? A simple example of it, I once saw a youth corper who was taken somehow to his own village, and he had to teach them in a school. It was personal. I saw that bond between him and the students. And at the point when his service period was over, it was tragic that day. They were sad. You know, when you hear people saying Rabua Tazo, there's a song we sing in outside, they say Rabua Tazo. It's a very sad song. But because he was in his village, he did it with that attachment. That's what we need to see in policing. A policeman doesn't see hassle in asking you for 20 naira and you don't give him, he blows your head off because he's not even from your region. Talk less of. So it's about this 58-year-old house I'm talking about that is due for renovation, whether anyone likes it or not. But then the renovation has to be modified. And with innovation, with metacognition, and some little bit of what I want to call invention, we can bring about that which suits us.
Okay. Chamberlain has a question for you. Chamberlain?
Well, yes, it's just almost like a follow-up to the initial one, because I didn't hear you speak to, take for instance, the DSS. They've appointed a spokesperson. They've not done that in the last 3 years. Now they have one. And then they also said, as I did ask you initially, they will listen to some of the cases, if there are, of either human rights abuses or some of the things that they think had gone wrong in society. Don't those actions count for something in terms of engendering confidence on the part of the people towards them, and perhaps by extension, security agencies? And about your response to the average police person out there, I'm just wondering, if someone were watching you and the person wanted to volunteer information to either the police or any security outfit, they will be discouraged listening to you saying, if you share intelligence with someone who doesn't know how to use it, it's useless. So in the circumstance, we know that as citizens we have a role to play. What do we then do, given the scenario?
Okay, let me start with the last question before I go to the first. Let's understand security seriously here. Don't ever give people false hope or courage. Don't ever invest in a security apparatus the kind of confidence it is not bestowed to deliver. Confidence for results is not bestowed to deliver, because at the end of it, the effect is tragic. It's like relying on a weapon if you've been in combat, and at that moment of decision you called and your weapon did not answer. Nothing could be worse. Now what I'm trying to say is simple. If today the police want to begin to work, regardless what I have said, go and do a vox about your image, Mr. Policeman. Stop running around and dodging these questions. Motivation need not be friendly. I have had RSMs motivate me in some very decisive manner, and today I'm the better for it. If I have to whip the police force to ensure that we're better off, believe me, I do so generously. I know exactly what I'm talking about, and Nigerians know what I'm talking about, be they discouraged or not. We have seen people who are no longer with us because they went to the police to share intelligence. We have seen an arm of the police today you call the SAS, which is virtually not doing what it was called into being to do. And rather than take it off the shelf, we're thinking of overhauling it. How do you overhaul what? Scrap it and put something new out there. It's psychological. Now, talking about the DSS, what the DSS did on that day was the civilian equivalent of a coup. Believe me when I say believe me, if it were a military regime in-house today, many of them would have been shot by now or will be on their way to gaol by now. That was a coup. I don't see how you have to mask your face. Being the authorized institution in the Federal Republic, who are you hiding from? Of course, it's not out of place for the DSS to say, hey, we have to cordon this place off. But that's the crudest means of cordoning that place off. If I was in service today, I and now Ndaura will be contemporaries. Let me tell you something. If I had to stay everyone out of the Senate, I won't do it that way. I'll just call my bomb disposal unit and I'll fly a kite that I have to check that place out for explosives. And the bomb disposal unit will have a field day practicing. That makes it proactive.